Good afternoon, guys. This is meteorologist David Yeomans live in Houma, Louisiana. We appreciate you joining us for this KXAN.com and social media live stream. We've been here all day as we await the approach of Category 4 Hurricane Ida, and just now things have really started to pick up here on the roof of the parking garage. Let me start from the beginning. Just about an hour ago, Ida made landfall as a high-end Category 4 just southeast of here, with sustained winds of 150 miles per hour and wind gusts up to 180 miles per hour. This makes it in a tie with Hurricane Laura in 2020 and a hurricane back in the 1800s for the strongest storm to ever hit Louisiana. Again, a three-way tie, including this storm, for the strongest to ever hit the state of Louisiana. What we're about to experience are winds much worse than what we're seeing right now. Just a few minutes ago, we actually saw one of these power poles. You see the wooden power lines over there? Power poles, I should say. You see how they're swaying. One of them emitted this loud buzzing explosion and a large flash. We call that a power flash, and that can either happen when the lines themselves are getting stretched or broken from the poles moving, or more likely they can happen when a large tree or tree limb falls on a line and does the same thing. So when that happens, power outages are beginning. We obviously have no way to monitor the power outages during the day here on a concrete parking garage, but you know what? Look at the stoplight over there, Frank. It looks like we have now lost power at the stoplight. So it looks like power here is going out in Houma, Louisiana. And look at the power lines. Back here by the building, the power lines are just swinging freely in the air. With power lines moving like that, you do not want to be anywhere close to that at ground level or close to those power lines. Now, as we monitor all these visuals, small tree limbs breaking, some wind gusts that I've measured myself over 50 miles an hour, likely stronger away from the walls of the parking garage here. We're also hearing this incredible noise, and I wish the microphone could pick it up. But in the direction of the eye of the storm, out here over my shoulder, it sounds like there's an airport doing jet engine tests. And there isn't. The sound that we're hearing, you know, people say a tornado sounds like a jet engine. This is the first time I've heard this in the 8 hurricanes that I've been in. It's like a constant jet engine test right here. And what that is a combination of the winds that we're already seeing here, but also the winds that are about 8-9 miles that way in the eye wall of the storm. This is a tough storm to stand in right now, but this is absolutely nothing compared to what we're gonna see here in maybe 10 minutes or so when the outer part of that eye wall arrives. Now, I've been in touch with one of the nicest police officers I've ever met, Lieutenant Terrio. Met him yesterday. He was nice enough to even share some dinner with us that he was cooking for his officers here in Houma. And I checked in with him a couple times today. Said, how's everybody doing? You know, about 50% of the residents here have stayed behind. They've ignored the mandatory evacuation orders, including somebody next door we talked to. I'll tell you about in a second. I said, how's everybody doing? Have you gotten any stress calls? Are people changing their mind? They wish they left? He said, so far, David, everything is going okay. They have not had any emergency calls, but he also said that they have told people now proactively that they're starting to prioritize their calls, which means if it's not an absolute emergency, they're not going to put themselves in harm's way by driving out to that call. They're only going to come for serious emergencies, and surely when the worst of this eye wall arrives, they won't even be coming for those. Now, I told you we spoke to a homeowner who decided to stay home. It's a gentleman whose house has been here since the 1930s. And he lives there with his wife and with his adorable lab dog, who was a little nervous, a little antsy. And they've decided to stay home because he said this storm has withstood every test since the 1930s when it was built. This house, rather, has withstood every storm since then. It's built of thick, heavy cypress wood. He was convinced he would have none or minor damage to the home. Now, I sure hope he's right. And that heavy cypress wood is a strong house, but you know, when you've got a high-end Category 4, even well-built homes can sustain serious, significant damage. So I did make sure that he and his wife, and his dog, of course, do have a safety backup plan just in case things do go south. That would include going into the center of their home. They have a hallway with a bathroom. They've got some flashlights and water there ready to shelter just in case they need to. Now over this way, you see the strips here in the parking lot starting to rip up a little bit. This is not the pavement itself. You know, we've only seen asphalt peel up from the pavement in 300-mile-an-hour winds like the Gerald F5 tornado. So this is not pavement ripping up, but this is some stripping, some patching in the parking garage. You can see another reporter there, at the end of the garage holding some down, it looks like. This is starting to peel up. And again, this is nowhere near the worst part of the storm that we're gonna see. So if we're already sustaining some minor, surface damage here in the parking lot, you wonder what it's gonna look like here in a little bit. As far as storm surge flooding, that's a big concern here close to the levees in Louisiana. We haven't seen any. The roadways have some minor flooding, street flooding from heavy rain, but we haven't seen any ocean flooding. Now the official National Hurricane Center projections say that this area might be buried under feet of water, depending on how exactly the storm moves, and that may still happen. We've seen some footage coming from small communities down near the coast, where I would not be right now, of the ocean overrunning those towns, and those whole towns going underwater. So we're certainly thinking of the 20 or 30 people in places like Grand Isle whom we've heard have chosen to stay behind. We sure hope they're okay tonight. So as we await the eye wall itself coming from that direction, we're going to enjoy our last few chats with you guys up here. Once the worst of the storm hits, these 60, 70 mile per hour gusts will skyrocket to potentially 150 miles per hour, even inland where we are right now. And there's absolutely no way that we'll be able to stand out here. We'll be on a lower level of the parking garage, sheltering behind some concrete walls. We do look forward to showing you how bad the storm gets, though. We'll be here reporting for you. All of our gear is charged and staying dry. So we appreciate you following the storm with us here, whether you live here, whether you live back in Central Texas, or whether you just enjoy the weather. We'll continue to bring you guys the latest from here in Houma, Louisiana. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans with my photojournalist Frank. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll check in here in a little bit.